Dear philosophers, please don't let me die. Hey, my name is Zenzi. My chosen name is Zenzile Londolozi. You are responsible for what you've become, the protector of all living beings. You can call me Zenzi. Payroll name is Deb Helfrich. I am a degreed philosopher from Carnegie Mellon University who had a career for 2 decades doing payroll software implementation at technology companies. Sybase, Expedia. My last job was at Genentech. In 2010, I had an autistic shutdown after having no one ever to this very day see me as autistic or believe me when I tell them to their face, no, you're not autistic. I just told you I was autistic. Why are you messing with me and not believing me? Now, my life is very much in danger. I've been homeless for 22 months, destitute for 28 months. How do you live in the U.S. of hypocrisy with no money? I've done it. And why I've done it is because of the philosophical evolution in this mind that will yield the greatest scientific revolution of this millennium. I've solved consciousness. And everyone says, oh, you can't tell people that. All right, I'm very creative. I've sorted the hard problem of consciousness into an easy pivot. I've developed the philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism. I'm watching all these people, all of these experts, Dan Dennett, Doug Hofstadter. We got this lovely, lovely guy here. Fear of a Black Universe, Stefan Alexander, physicist, wants to know, is good, and is going to Bantu Congo. Origin stories. We are a species with 200,000 years of evolution. We cannot keep tossing our ancestors out of the equation. We can't. This whole thing that we've just this rediscovered knowledge in the past 600 years of whiteness, appalled. And part of the reason why my life has become so close to extinction is because I refuse to play by the rules of plantation capitalism. We are all African ancestrally. And if we want to solve global warming, it cannot be done in various races, various sexes, various genders, various nation states. This is a planetary problem that requires us to unite as one species. How do we start getting that done? This child is on to a Poe, a philosophy of everything, from consciousness outward. Not only have I solved consciousness, pretty big deal in and of itself, and not making anything up in the parlance of right now. You know, I see myself as a phenomenologist, philosophy speaking. Suppose there's this new thing, philosophy of mind. I'm not into it. But in all honesty, I am a world-class philosopher of physiology. I've kept myself alive through chronic diseases, toxic mold exposure, that's on top of the autistic shutdown. Then, because I couldn't really function in the world, all of the toxic pollution, I ended up in the Pacific Northwest in an apartment with mold behind the walls. This incredible brain was in there. It was not coming out via my mouth, through my movements. I lost nearly 90% of my ability to walk and talk throughout my 40s. When I turned 50, I was certain I would see no more birthdays. I'm about to hit 54. And that's about to be the end. I can't keep doing this alone. I need not your help for anything that's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? It's a social illness. It's not. I know physiology. I know thinking equipment in a way that other people don't, because I know what consciousness is. And having solved consciousness, you go back and you do the regression thinking. We call it regression testing in software. All the software you're used to, it don't function well. I mean, I get so upset. Payroll software does not fail. Kind of like air traffic control, basically. When was the last time you called customer service and they didn't tell you that the system was out? When was the last time you haven't had systems updates intervene in your important interviews? It's technology. These are dumb handsets. We are a species that does not know how to think. This is what separates us from the apes. I've been reading Franz de Waal, great guy, reading his book, Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are? And the consensus, until just very recently, is we were not smart enough to understand how smart other mammals are. I mean, the birds are smart. Invertebrates, octopuses, whoa, we are not much compared to octopuses, all right? UC Santa Cruz, I need to create a job doing philosophy, writing up the philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism, which yields a unifying theory of human energy, potential, and well-being as body, mind, and soul integrated functioning. I'm going to reunite the Cartesian split and concretize all the Platonic abstractions. Math and science are dead. In the tradition of Nietzsche saying God is dead, and the teacher of my aesthetics teacher at Carnegie Mellon, Arthur Danto, in his book, Transfiguration of the Commonplace, he said art was dead in the 70s. That was Warhol. Yes, how did I get so smart? Thinking about why Andy Warhol's Brillo boxes and tomato soup cans were art. You start diving into something as complex as what is art? What is beauty? What do we value as a species? You come up with a lot of understanding of humankind. I'm swirling around here because that's the only way to be able to open up minds out of this linear causality mode of thinking that demands answers, even if they're fucking nuts. As long as there's an answer and there's causality and it works straight ahead, we're like, all right. The genome gets mapped. We're 98% like chimpanzees and bonobos. All of this special stuff, the gene, and everyone just all talking still about genes. They're blueprints. They're 68% like fruit flies. The genes don't explain our differences. What does? Philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism, which creates evolutionary logic, a way of really thinking through. And it's out there, it's in the water, but I don't know that anyone's formalized evolutionary logic. Takes the calculus of life. 1 + 1 = 3. So foundational that there's a different math. This is why I say math and science are dead. Because they are. Processes, methodologies, symbols, games that humans have invented. And where they overlap with evolution, they're very illustrative. It's really, really good. But as we've played these games within a framework of whiteness, within a framework of, pale-skinned penis brigade of plantation capitalism, or all that, and the rest of humanity is useless, worthless. We know how they thought about everyone. It's incorrect. Every single human, all 7.9 billion of us across every nook and cranny of Earth, are spectacular. We live in a civilizational framework that not only denies that, but enforces that you don't have a chance to be your own spectacular. You need to become accountants and programmers, or whatever the capitalists want you to be. Our African ancestors knew about bio-electromagnetism. The Indian traditions, the Chinese traditions, it's all there. And then we got these newer religions that started to tell the story in just the framework of patriarchy and hierarchy. Damage has been done. Look, I'm very serious. The reason I've been homeless is because I had a chronic disease. I had a decade of having to self-fund my own long-term disability, which I did. And just as I evaporated 150 pounds in the 15 months after turning 50, shape-shifting, no standard diet or exercise advice as not a thing. Now, for me, fasting is very natural and normal, but it is still very much not within the pantheon. Evolutionary logic has to be fasting. You want to lose weight, it has to be fasting. It's evolutionary logic. What I learned is that fasting produces altered states of consciousness. This is a trance where I'm going through and around and around and around. Here's the philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism has the math of life, evolutionary logic, and then at the highly scientific level, what you need to do is bring in Gödel's incompleteness theorem, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, marry it with Helfrich's life-centric complexity axiom, and look at all human knowledge through the lens of the Twitter sphere's greatest philosopher, MC Hammer, who should have now be elected to the most famous sentence in philosophy's history. When you measure, include the measurer. We got a regression test consciousness. And as I've done so, I cannot find a place where my Poe, philosophy of everything from consciousness outward, doesn't accurately account for all aspects of human functioning. Body, mind, and soul. There's a lot more in here. I've discovered what the soul is. The real, we know it, but nobody's really defined these terms. So I'm just coming back in, as philosophers I want to do, and defining terms like consciousness and soul in very concrete, physiological, testable hypotheses. I got billions of testable hypotheses. There's literally an opportunity here. Set me up correctly right now for me to beat Elon or Jeff to 1 trillion. On the side of we are one species, ABCs of hashtag Wellbeing philosophy, my custom branch of philosophy, thinking about how we think about being human, from consciousness outward, has to be anti-racism, bio-electromagnetism, and consciousness made clear. And that's in actual order. We must unite as one species. One little tiny pivot of every human across every nook and cranny of this earth to be thinking about the collective versus all this separatism, all this, I'm about to, not be able to pay my bills. It's plantation capitalism is evil on this planet. We need an economic system that doesn't pit us against each other. It doesn't make you earn a living. You've been born on this earth. You must have your Maslow's met. You want a successful country? Let me start talking to Caribbean nations, Africa, all over. Nations that want to really leapfrog all this damn colonialism. Meet the Maslows of your people. Mint the money, give the people money, then income becomes disposable. People only want what is important to them. We get rid of all this excess competition. There's just so much junk being made because nobody's... There's a lot to solve here. And I have a mind that has been empowered. It may be enlightened. But I say empowered. Bio-electromagnetism. This is sound science. In fact, part of this is understanding. You got all the woo-woo energy people. I'm on their side. Acupuncture works. Ayurveda works. Tai Chi. Yoga. These modalities with thousands of years of testing. It's because they were here before we developed the tools of science. They're invalid? That's craziness. They actually quite clearly fit in and prove bio-electromagnetism. You just got to lay all of the right translations. You got to build the right universe of thinking. She-Einstein of consciousness. Also the she-Sherlock of human functioning. And I see the mind palaces of the men. I raise them. Wise, feminine mind planet. So the words are too similar. Mind planet. All ecosystems. Everything matters. All life matters. Life-centric thinking. This is how we unite us all as one species. Spread everywhere. Everywhere. It's not a business. This is not what consciousness is belongs to humanity. Belongs to the struggles of our ancestors and to the futures of our nextsters. It cannot be owned. This is why I have no money. My life's work is something that I cannot let be owned. I've dealt with the trauma and the neglect, put my life at risk, and right now, I need help. I need an annual salary with room and board included. I need access to kids on a college campus filled with ideas, I need to attract more kids interested in consciousness, interested in the greatest philosophical evolution this millennium, which is going to yield a scientific revolution. I don't know how to say anything without a back and forth that will bring you into what foundational sense it makes bio-electromagnetism. How to get anyone along on this ride with me, it's a personal thing. And then once I get a few people, philosophers, UC Santa Cruz, public philosophy, I'm the founder of #StandUpPhilosophy. is where I'm going to take this across every nook and cranny of Earth. Enter-cation. You'll see all this. There's a bit of a playfulness. There's a lot of skilled creativity and what seems to be rambling, because I don't want anyone with financial to get this really easy. It's not that complex. But you have to have the mental space, and you have to be beyond socialization. All the efforts of being social. It's just a cause for great reduction in human thinking. It was done to me. I didn't choose to be ostracized because I was autistic and nobody knew it. I didn't choose to be ostracized because I was morbidly obese. This is but my life. I know what I did with all that free time. I am the she-Einstein of consciousness, the she-Sherlock of human functioning. I know how to stay alive. I know how to rewire your brain, re-Humpty Dumpty myself back together again, even better than I've ever been. It's complex. There's no, everyone, give it to me brief. As you could tell, it doesn't come briefly. How can the understanding, the pinnacle of evolution so far, be a 2-minute internet read? That's why nobody's helping me. It's not that nobody has the time. We're going to let our species go self-extinct because nobody has any time anymore, and everyone's fearful, and the costs are skyrocketing, and this is all by design. It's all just improv. And listening to me once, get that je ne sais quoi, that feeling. I'm going to go back and listen to her again. I'm going to buy her webisodes. You get up with my terminology. You get up with where I'm going. Give me some people to ask me some questions. Not a single person yet has went over and asked me questions so I could understand how other minds approach this. Because I dwell in the future, where we understand that everything is frequency. The basic premises of quantum physics are things that I understand and I use to live my life. I spin the electrons. Hashtag Breaking Bad. This is hashtag Breaking Brilliant. It's a documentary. It'll bring in the money. It'll bring in the patrons. What I need is for the Academy, for people to vouch. This is something really seriously worth thinking about. This is my job as a philosopher, is to get us thinking. There will be science that occurs. But the science that occurs, if it's occurring just because people are willing to pay for it, we end up in the conundrums that we face today. All right. I'm going to let you go. Holler at me. 360-969-5826.